Guys, this story possibly will be the craziest story I've ever read on this channel. My mother and father went back into my life after a 3-year gap following my mother's affair with my ex-boyfriend. I'm sorry, but there is betrayal. And then there's whatever the fresh hell of emotional terrorism this is. God, where do I actually begin with this mess? Girl, I have no idea. I'm already shaken just from the title. I was with ex-boyfriend and from now only called DH for nearly 5 years. We met in college and hit it off. Never had a fight or anything of that nature. I'm fairly level-headed and always seek communication first, which worked out really well in our favor. When we finished up our courses, I got a job close to my family and moved back with DH in tow. He eventually got a job too and everything seemed perfect. You would think moving closer to your family when you're starting your adult life would be comforting and wholesome. Apparently not for you, Jesus Christ. Then 3 years ago, and just after we became engaged, his idea alone, I had no idea he'd even wanted to get married. I came home early one day to find him having with my mom. I want you to know that everybody from this story going to go straight to hell except you, OP. Trust me, when I saw that, if I could have burned the eyes out of my head at that point, I would have. I literally had nightmares for months after of him taking her doggy style over the kitchen table. I don't think that's something that you're ever gonna recover from. Ever. What you are going to need after this is lifetime of therapy.
You need therapy!
Long story short, I threw the engagement ring at him, pushed my crying mother away from me, and took off. I obviously told my father straight away, who wasn't surprised, to my horror.
Huh?
I hope your next sentence is not going to be that your father also was part of this afternoon betrayal club. Apparently, they'd been talking about opening their relationship for a while and had just done so. She'd never told him who she'd intended on partnering with. He actually said that maybe I needed to really think whether monogamy was really the right way.
Shut up.
And what harm was really in my mom having a little fun with DH? Can we just leave this planet? Because I swear, some people are operating in a completely different moral level. Their relationship is their business, fine, but involving their daughter's fiancé. Are you insane? I don't care how open a relationship's supposed to be. There are still basic human boundaries you should never step over. Your daughter's partner behind her back is one of them. You have to understand at this point that my dad gets into phrases where he gets completely absorbed into lifestyles he reads about and thinks they suit him better. Such as when we were young, he went through a phase where he felt the hunter-gatherer lifestyle is the right way and got us all learning to hunt. As hard as that was to my stomach, my father saying that to me, I knew that what happens to them in their own business. My dad had basically approved my mother's betrayal of me. So not only there was no accountability, there was a full-blown moral detachment from both parents. That's terrifying. This is where I really lucked out. Thank you, personal finance advisor I went to during college. I'd been the only one of saving for a house and had a nice tidy sum of money locked up in my account. So I left, took off, no note, no message.
You, I'm out.
Honestly, I have no idea what else you could have done in that moment. Leaving sounds like the only sane response in that situation. Handed in my notice at my job, rang my landlord and paid whatever it took to free me from the lease. I left all the furnishings and stuff I owned because I didn't care. I packed a bag of clothes and essentials, got into my car and went. I had a blast. I crossed the state in the best road trip I've ever had all by myself. I eventually found another job on the West Coast and have worked it ever since. Met my husband, had a really small wedding as neither of us are big on those sort of things, and now have a beautiful 3-month-old son after a pretty hard pregnancy. Wow, you are extraordinary. You turned probably the most devastating chapter of your life to a new beginning. You didn't get stuck in it. From that point, you choose yourself. and it led you somewhere completely new. In all that time, I only kept in touch with my sister. They attended my wedding secretly as I didn't want my parents knowing anything about my life, as they'd only try to come to and ruin it all. They were the first to hear of my pregnancy, etc. My husband knows everything, by the way, just in case you are wondering. I'm really glad you were able to keep your sister close through all of that. And of course your husband knows. Why wouldn't he? You did nothing wrong. The problem I'm faced with is that my younger sister confessed to my parents everything. About where I am, about the fact I'm married and that I had a baby. I've not been able to get in touch with my sis since, and I started getting letters and phone calls from them. The audacity is honestly unreal. After everything they did, they still feel entitled to access your life like nothing happened. The lack of accountability is wild. Instead of reflecting, they are immediately trying to get control over you again. It's all one big giant guilt trip. They whine about how much they miss me, how they'd miss such important events in my life,
Well, whose fault is that?
and how they want to know their first grandchild. Not an hour ago, I got a voice message from DH who was blabbering a sub story over how he thought I was dead or something. Why is he even in contact with your parents? Are they in a trouble now or what? About how devastated he was and still is that I left him, and now to find out that I moved on. What the f do you mean? Of course she would move on. My husband is a star. He's basically just said that whatever I decide, he'll stand behind me 100%. My real issue is that my resolve is starting to crack. I look at my son and think that maybe he should know them. I mean, he has wonderful grandparents in my in-laws, but surely he should know my own family too. Should he though? I'm not that sure about that. Wanting your child to have family is understandable, but that doesn't override the history and harm that already been done. I just need advice here. Should I stay strong, or are they right in that I shouldn't have done what I did? I might not be the correct person to advise you on this, because I cut out my father from my life for way less than this. You leaving was a protective decision, not a punishment. You didn't create the situation, you just reacted on it. It still feels like they are taking zero accountability. They are just trying to guilt you to get access to you and your son. There are some relevant comments on this post, so let's jump into them. This is harrowing story, and I'm so sorry that you went through that. But just looking at a few things from your story, he actually said that maybe I needed to really think whether monogamy was really the right way. What the f? That's what he has to say to his daughter at that point. And they whine about how much they miss me, how they miss such important events in my life, and how they want to know their first grandchild. So the important things in this situation are all about them. I think you might want to mosey on over to r/raised by narcissists. I understand it's hard you left behind your family like that, but you did it for a good reason. Focusing on their feelings is going to distract you from what you went through. Don't risk the beautiful family you built with your husband. Opie's answer: you know, I'm so used to my father saying stuff like that I couldn't see it as being so dreadfully different from his normal. It was only when my husband mentioned to me a few minutes ago whether I could imagine saying something like that to our child. God, maybe I should go to that subreddit. Next commenter: first of all, I can't imagine how much the betrayal must have hurt, and you're amazing for moving on and finding a happy life. As for your parents, if you can go back, you are a better person than me. The fact they are guilt-tripping you after everything, plus the fact that DH knows your situation and contact details shows that they are still in contact with him.
But why?
And that in all probability nothing has changed. It appears to me you are the only one who seems to have suffered any hurt, and for that I would let sleeping dogs lie with this one. The fact that they're still in contact with DH is insane to me. It just shows they have zero regret and they don't understand what they did was wrong. Hell, what they did was insane, disgusting, and unforgivable. Opie's answer: it did hurt a lot at the time because I lost everything. I couldn't stay and had to leave it all behind. Not so much anymore. My new life is great. I just sometimes feel a little weak when I think of all the stuff I thought me and my mother would have done together. Like getting ready for the baby and buying my wedding dress. Luckily, my husband's mother is the sweetest woman I've ever met. She's become my mom. In those weak moments, ask yourself what would you get out of re-establishing contact with your parents, or more specifically your mother? Are you looking for some sort of closure, or it is just going to reopen old wounds? Your parents seems like very selfish people, so you need to adopt the same stance when dealing with them. Best of luck. I get that you miss your mom, but I would think really carefully if it's worth to start a relationship with them again. Opie's answer: I don't think closure is ever really possible. I guess I do miss my mother as I knew her, but I can't ever get her back. Even now when I think of her, I just see that kitchen all over again. I think the contact has to stop really. I just know what they are like. If their letters and stuff don't get through, then I'd imagine they turn up at my door. I'm actually half terrified that they're on their way right now. So much so that I've even mentioned to my husband about selling up and moving. He's not impressed at that. And by not impressed, he means that my parents, that they caused that sort of fear in me that I'd give up our family home to escape them. That fear right there is the answer. If someone makes you feel like you have to sell your family home to avoid them, that's not a relationship to go back to. Update. Hey guys, just wanted to say really quickly just how blown away I am by all the messages and support. Even those who say this is fake, as you guys validate every time I ever told somebody my parents are dead rather than having to tell them the truth. So thanks for that. People can call stories fake if they want, but the reality is this type of situations do happen. They are more common than people think. Just a really short update in that my sister got in touch. We'll be talking properly in another hour when she's free, so I'm bracing myself for that talk. I try to update for you all eventually. I've actually found this really therapeutic. Special thanks for all those who suggested r/raised by narcissists. I've read a few threads and it's been really eye-opening to see that what I had thought as normal was completely removed from it. Thanks again, everyone. I'm really glad you are getting a chance to talk with your sister. I hope it brings you some clarity, even if it's going to be a difficult conversation. I'm glad that this space helped you realize that what you went through as a kid wasn't normal, especially not that last thing that made you leave them all behind. Opie has another update. I'm so excited for her. Hey everyone, it's been quite a while since I last posted, and things have been a little crazy, so posting an update was firmly pushed to the back of the to-do list until today. Before I start, I just want to say thanks so much to all of those who replied, even those who said this was fake. You have no idea how good it was to see people who honestly believed this was so far out that it couldn't be real. Really helped solidify my decision that they weren't getting any more contact. I'm glad you trusted your instinct on this. After everything that you shared, distance is a must. My younger sister and I talked. To be honest, it was not a pleasant conversation. I'm so sorry it turned out like that. I was essentially berated for not being forgiving enough. That family is family, and that I was cheating our parents from being part of my life and that of my sons.
BICTH.
I'm just wondering, would your sister have the same opinion if your mom would have her partner and not yours? Thankfully, and in no small part due to all of you knocking some sense into me, I basically told her to and hung up the phone. I cried for a long time. I hadn't seen this coming at all, and it really hurt. Almost as bad as when this had all exploded the first time. What really has me confused is what had happened to her that had created this huge swing in opinion. That suddenly I am the bad guy for wanting a normal life without my parents ruining it again. Even now, I have no idea what happened, only that she woke up one day and now thinks I'm the worst person in the world. I think your parents probably pushed her to try to build a bridge marriage between you and them, and now she's annoyed and getting tired of it. So after that was where my husband really stood up. He bundled me and the small one into a car and drove us all up to his parents' place for a few days. He called them and explained everything that was happening, and his mother insisted that we get away from the house for a bit to have a break away from it all. When we got there, his mom nearly smothered me with kindness. She's very much a mommy person and took every opportunity to babysit my son and leave me rest. You might have been unlucky with your family, but look at how amazing the people around you now. My husband, while I was relaxing and unknowing of what he was up to, called my other sister and got her up to speed in what was going on. From what I tell, since it's been all-out war between them and my parents. My other sister, from now called B, barraged over that very night and apparently read the riot act to our younger sister M. It got pretty heated from what I can tell, and since then B has cut M off completely, which is a huge problem for M as B helped fund her way through college. After that fight, B got in her car and drove all the way back to our parents' house, and there it got even messier. She rang after to tell my husband that our parents had actually been packing suitcases when she arrived. Not the suitcases. They'd bought plane tickets to our state and planned to leaving midway during that week. B blew up. Thank God you have B on your side. The fight was pretty brutal, I'm sure. B is razor sharp with things, and then she left. She couldn't convince them to not travel over to me. She left with what details she could get of their flight times. My husband decided that he wouldn't tell me just yet. My freak out earlier at them potentially turning up had convinced him that I needed to be as uninvolved in this as possible. Instead, he left me at his parents' while he went back to our house to wait for them to arrive. I can understand why your husband wanted to shield you from that. What your parents did in your past was more than enough. You don't need more harm. When they did, he apparently answered the door and told them to get off his property.
What are you doing in my swamp?
My father and him had a blazing argument which ended when he tried to break down the door, which my husband used as prime motivation to call the police. When they arrived, my father tried to claim that my husband was keeping me caged up like a prisoner and not allowing me to see my family. I know this because I received a phone call and a visit from a local PD in his parents' area to follow up the claim. That also alerted me on the fact they'd followed up on the threat and had actually crossed the country to reach me. So their idea to repairing the relationship was to show up at your door unannounced, escalating to the point of police involvement, and making a false claim. I'm sorry, but your parents are crazy. So they've gone back east as they couldn't get anywhere near me or my baby. But since then, the trouble hasn't stopped. We've gotten at least 8 notices from their lawyers in regarding to getting access to our son. Our own told us it was incredibly unlikely that they'll get anything. We've also had 4 visits from the CPS and PD because of anonymous calls about things from our parenting to me being a battered wife. Our lawyer thinks these are orchestrated so that if the case goes to court, they can point to a record. And chalk this down to me being paranoid. I just have this really bad gut feeling that they've hired a PI or something. I wouldn't be surprised either. But either way, this sounds incredibly exhausting and stressful on top of everything. B is telling me to hold the line. She's going through something similar herself. She's had 5 police visits in the last month, one of which was apparently over an anonymous call that she was running a brothel.
I'm sorry, what?
What the actual is wrong with your parents? They are harassing you and your sister, making false claims about you guys. Do they really think they're gonna get their daughters back behaving like this? I guess we really pushed our parents to the edge that they rather ruin our lives than leave us alone. As to everything else, we are planning on moving. That's probably for the best. Not sure when or where yet, but even husband is growing tired of the drama. Who wouldn't? This went 100 times over the line. We are still in the planning stages and trying to find out every way possible of making sure that if we do move, we can legally prevent them from finding out. It's just all so damn tiring. What's sadder is that I know this isn't really about me. It's about my baby and my parents trying to exert some sort of control over his life and mine. Hopefully you guys can find a place where you can be happy again and that your parents will never find you. ever. Today has just been such a long day. Any similar stories, advice, or words of encouragement would be greatly appreciated. As today was the first day I found the future just seems a bleak hole of legal entanglements and crazy parents. I'm really sorry you are dealing with this and you have to start over again. But this time you are not alone. You have your amazing husband and baby, and I know you guys gonna make it. Don't forget to update us when you have some new information. I hope you guys enjoyed today's stories. If you did, please subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments. I reply them all, and see you in the next one.